Hey guys, this is a quick tutorial on how to create a podcast in Garageband. When you open up Garageband, it's down here on your dock, or if your dock's on the side here, it's the little guitar looking symbol icon. You'll click on it, and once you click on it, you should have a screen that opens up something like this. If you're highlighted under recent projects, you'll have a bunch of other podcasts here. Just choose new project, and there's an icon called podcast. You'll select that, choose. We're just going to name this sample podcast. Everything else is to stay the same. Yes, we'll replace that. And here you go. Here's what a GarageBand looks like. Up here on the tracks, you have male voices or female voices. Depending on what you want to do, you can click on male voices, and down below here is a record button. If you hit record, you'll start seeing that my voice is being recorded right now on the track, and it should be this red line going and going and going, and it's just me talking. Hit the space bar and it stops, and it turns purple, so that's good. You want it to be purple. You can move this around. You can edit it by shrinking it, making it longer, whatever you need to do to edit the voice. So that's how you record. To put pictures on, you have to make sure you have the icon down here, the media icon, selected. And I have a bunch of photos here already in my iPhoto, and I can just drag different ones in here that I want to use. And same thing with the voice. You can shrink these to however long you want to have your photos on here. This is a long one. Bring it back. And voila. So I got my audio, I got my pictures. Now the next thing I need to do is put some music to this. So this is going to go on the jingles track. And to get some jingles that's already uploaded on GarageBand, you have to click on this icon. I don't know what they call it, but it looks like a little circle. And once that comes up, you should have all kinds of different effects, from country effects, jazz effects. You can have jingles from different different areas of music, rock, urban, whatever. Some other different sound effects. You want some people sound effects. You want some cheering. Choose that. So I'm going to give this some music here. I'm going to go with let's go with some rock and blues, and that sounds good. We'll just choose this. So this is going to be the beginning of my podcast here, but I don't want it to be this long. This is way too long. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to use it. Oh, I need to bring it down. Sorry, I need to make sure it's on jingles. All right, so even though this is long, I don't want the music to be overbearing my voice on the track. So one way to softly make the music kind of fade in the background is you click on this down arrow, and there's this blue line that goes across underneath your music. So I want the music to be loud when it starts off in my podcast, so the very beginning is good, but about here I want it to fade to the background. So if I click here, a little dot will come up, and I can gradually pull it down, so in the background it slowly fades away, and it goes all the way through my podcast. So say at the end though, I want it to come back up to get louder for the end of my podcast. Just gotta click one dot there and one dot here and pull that up, and it will gradually increase in sound. So that's how you put music on there, and that's how you can edit the levels of sound over your voice. The last thing we need to do is go back to click on the podcast track. We need to give this podcast some titles for each chapter. So I can say the first chapter was Intro to Congress. And then this chapter was Supreme Court Justices. So I've given I've given some chapter titles to my podcast. Another thing I want to do is click down here on the media. I want to give my episode an artwork as well, and we'll just use this Osama picture, just drag it on top to give the overall. It's kind of like the book cover to my podcast. That's the title of my podcast. I guess the cover of it is Osama. Make sure these are selected. Display artwork, marks as chapter. Come up a couple other things you can do. Say you wanted to show a link in your podcast. You can say I don't know, Congress.com or Congress, and then you can paste in its URL, Congress.com, which I don't know if that really exists or not, but you get the idea. To put in a URL or link to add some more information to your podcast. And so if I were to play this all together now, it should sound like this. You'll start seeing that my voice is being recorded right now on the track, and both should be this red line going and going. And there you go. You got yourself a podcast. The basics of it. So now it's all done. It's ready to go. Next thing you're going to do is we got to share it to iTunes. So you click on the top here. It says share, send podcast to iTunes. I'm going to name this Ryan Watts' sample podcast. And don't need to change anything else. And I'm going to click share. Now right now my iTunes is opening up because of the export. And down here in iTunes, it's there it is. It's right there. So to get it on the class wiki, what you need to do is go to your wiki, whichever group you're in. You would choose your group. So if I'm in group 1, I'll click on group 1, and I'm gonna grab the edit pin. I'll just get rid of all this, delete it. Go Mr. Watts, and underneath it I'm gonna put my podcast. We choose this media icon like we did earlier in the Garageband. Choose the file. It should be in my iTunes. It will be under music. And see if it's under podcast. No, it's under, let's put, well, it's a playlist. It's either here, you can choose that, or you can also choose recently added. No, it's not even my recently added, but it's right here. It's a playlist. There it is. Choose it. I can realign it however I want to use, whatever I want to do there, and then insert it. And there you go. There's my podcast. And I just hit save and just double check, making sure it works. Sometimes you're going to see that there's no pictures here, but if you were to scroll this over, the little circle there on the line, I don't know what you call that, but you scroll it over, the picture will show up. Hit play, and there you go. Here's my link to Congress. And there you go. That's how you make a podcast and uploading it onto your wiki page later.